This is WRAL News, your #1 source for local news.
People in Boone woke up to this morning, a blanket of snow, one that's been growing all day, and we could see some ourselves here in the coming days. It's the story that has people talking this evening, what to expect in the weekend forecast. Thanks for joining us. I'm Deborah Morgan.
And I'm Brad Johansson. David Crabtree is off tonight. The system causing that snow has already passed through the area today. Chief Meteorologist Greg Fischel here to show us what's the next system that may be on the way. Greg?
All right, Brad, and this one coming this weekend is going to have an abundant amount of moisture to work with, and so if it were to be in the frozen form, it could actually be a pretty important event. So this is something we need to watch out much more closely for than the one that came through earlier this morning. So let's go on ahead and take a look at the satellite and the radar, and this is Wednesday. And you see the rotation out here off the west coast with the southwesterly flow aloft here into California. This thing is still here. So it is a long ways away. Still, this almost sort of reminds me of looking at hurricanes that come off the coast of Africa. I mean, it seems like it takes forever for them to get into a position where we decide whether or not we're going to have to ever deal with it, and if so, what will the impacts be? So this has really been one of those things where it takes a long time. Now, taking a look at the European Ensemble forecast system and all 51 members of that ensemble, here's what we're looking at for snowfall probabilities in Roxborough on Saturday night and Sunday. 100% chance every single member has at least an inch of snow, with a 9 in 10 chance of 3 inches. Here in the Triangle area, not a whole lot less. A virtual lock of getting at least an inch of snow to fall, if not accumulate, and a 90% chance of 3 inches. Of course, the probability is a little bit lower in Fayetteville, but still substantial at this point in time. Now, it could be one of those things where most of the accumulation is on grass and not so much on the roads, but those are all details that still need to be worked out, and we have many days to do that. So definitely something on the way, and we'll talk about this more in detail coming up in just a few minutes. Back to you.
All right, Greg, thank you. With this winter storm still days away, many of you may have questions about how our weather team examines the models to be able to forecast what's to come. Chief Meteorologist Greg Fischel, you see there, is diving deep into how he and the rest of the team do just that. Greg shares his insights into the revolutionary new way to examine these storms and predicting what they will do. You'll find it on WRAL.com in our weather section.
Well, America observed a national day of mourning to bid farewell to our 41st president today.
Friends, family, and famous faces packed the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. for a state funeral for George Herbert Walker Bush.
With faith in Jesus Christ, we receive the body of our brother George for burial. Let us pray with confidence to God.
Bishop Michael Curry, the presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church, who once served as the Bishop of North Carolina, met the casket as it arrived. He opened and closed the service with prayers. World leaders and close friends of the Bush family attended the funeral. So did the 5 living presidents and first ladies. The Trumps, Obamas, Clintons, and Carter sat together on the front row. George W. Bush and his wife Laura sat with the Bush family.
There were 4 eulogies during the funeral, each given by leaders whose lives Bush had touched personally. The most poignant, given by the former president, who also called him Dad.
And we're going to miss you. Your decency, sincerity, and kind soul will stay with us forever. So through our tears, let us know the blessings of knowing and loving you, a great and noble man, the best father a son or daughter could have. And in our grief, let us smile knowing that Dad is hugging Robin and holding Mom's hand again.
Throughout the service, President Bush was remembered as a man with a sense of humor, a sense of honor, a sense of duty, and a sense of loyalty. WRAL's Catherine Brown has spent the last few days covering this story.
She joins us now live in Washington, D.C. And Catherine, it was such a moving service.
Well, Deborah and Brad, I heard it described by one woman who was at today's service as a magnificent day here in the nation's capital, and it certainly has been. You heard that emotional moment from the president's son, but so many more of those during the course of that service and over the past few days. Heartfelt moments. there was there were a lot of tears. There was a lot of laughter. People talked about the president's sense of humor, his self-effacing sense of humor, his love of jokes. And among those in the crowd, the widow of Bishop John Walker. He was the Bishop of Washington back in the 1980s and a good friend of George H.W. Bush. And as his wife was leaving the service today, Maria Walker spoke with me about the flood of emotions she felt being at the service to pay respects to a man she's known for decades and who meant so much to her family through the years. In fact, President Bush came to her husband's funeral, Bishop Walker's, in this same cathedral back in 1989.
When my husband died, he came to his funeral at the cathedral and wrote us all, my children and myself, he wrote us letters after the service. So it meant a lot to me to be here.
Now, we've heard so much about those handwritten letters over the past few days and how much they meant to so many who the president took the time to write those letters to. Also here today, incoming president of UNC Systems, Bill Roper, and I spoke with him after the service. He was in today's service, and I spoke with him a little bit. He has an interesting tie to the former president. We'll hear from him coming up tonight at 6 o'clock.
All right, looking forward to that. Catherine Brown, live in Washington, D.C. tonight. Thank you, Catherine. After the service, the president's casket was escorted back to Joint Base Andrews, where he left the nation's capital for the final time. That was about 3 hours ago. The Bush family is due to land at any moment in Houston at Ellington Field. The president's casket will be taken to St. Martin's Episcopal Church in Houston, where he will lie and repose until tomorrow. That's when George H.W. Bush will be laid to rest at his presidential library in College Station. Watch NBC's coverage of these events as they happen right here on WRAL. You can also find complete coverage of these events on WRAL.com.
In other news today, Daniel Green has spent more than 25 years as the man convicted of killing Michael Jordan's father. He says he didn't do it, and today his lawyers asked a Lee County judge for a new trial. Amanda Lamb sat in on that hearing. She joins us now live with what happened. Amanda?
Brad, the lawyers argued inside the courthouse here for about 3 hours today. We were not allowed to have a camera in that courtroom, but we sat in there. Also in that courtroom, his family. They came out into this courtyard, and they spoke on his behalf.
I didn't kill James Jordan.
When we sat down and spoke with Daniel Green in prison in March, he said what he's been saying all along, that he didn't kill James Jordan.
I love him. I'm proud of him for him standing up for himself.
Green's family came to court.
This has been a fight that's been going on for so long, and I just pray that Daniel will be coming home soon where he belongs.
The case was handled differently because of the high-profile nature of it.
Green's attorney, Chris Muma, argued he was not represented well at trial by public defender Angus Thompson.
Angus has said he completely underestimated the intimidation and fear factor in this case.
Muma says alibi witnesses who were with Green that night were not presented at trial. They say Green was home while his co-defendant, Larry Demery, left and then came back to the house 3 hours later.
I know that he is innocent. I was there. I was not asleep. I was there when Larry left.
Muma says the defense attorney's mistakes were compounded by the state withholding evidence and that evidence being tampered with. James Jordan's shirt did not appear to have a gunshot hole in it during the autopsy, but there was one in the shirt when the case came to trial.
When the state fabricates evidence or puts on false evidence, it's a whole different ballgame than when a defense attorney makes a mistake.
Green said his mistake was helping Demery get rid of the body. His attorney says he's more than served his time for that crime.
I do apologize for any participation he may have had after the fact, but my brother did not murder James Jordan.
I think there's no question that he at least deserves a new trial.
Now, lawyers for the Attorney General's office are representing the state. They argued today that Green did get a fair trial and that none of the information put forth today was new evidence in this case. The judge took the case under advisement. He said he will rule at a later date. The attorneys hope it will be soon. And so basically one of the most high-profile cases in the county, well, it will be decided, in the state, in the country, will be decided right here within these walls. Back to you.
And we know you'll be following. Amanda Lamb live. Thank you.
A local contractor who is the focus of a 5-year sign investigation faces new charges tonight. Monica LaLiberty is in the newsroom now with today's developments. Monica?
Deborah, this involves Roger Simmons and his company Modish Remodeling. We've heard from now 8 homeowners who paid Simmons for work he never completed. Combined, the contracts involve more than $100,000 in remodels. Simmons is now charged in 5 cases in Durham and Wake counties. The newest charges involve this home in Wake Forest that we first told you about in July. Diane Dieter hired Simmons a year ago December to remodel her attic and basement. She paid him $18,000 in installments, but look at how the projects were left. And Dieter says the inspector told her the attic drywall wasn't done properly and that needs to come down. Simmons has since been in jail since September on an $86,000 bond involving 11 different charges. This afternoon, we told Dieter about the arrest. She says she is glad that Simmons is being held accountable for her botched project. She also says she was just finally able to hire another contractor to finish the attic, and she's just not sure when she will be able to finish the basement. Deb?
So many struggles.
Frustrating. Yeah. Monica, thank you.
Well, still to come, law enforcement disrupts a small town's Christmas celebrations.
It's just a little parade in a small town that's not even officially a town. Why the Highway Patrol's blue lights had some spectators seeing red.
And then coming up at 6, a different kind of fallout from Hurricane Florence. Anniversaries, weddings, fall vacations that never happened. Many renters were asking, what about a refund? 5 on your side's Monica LaLiberty breaking down the law tonight at 6 o'clock.
It's a Chicago Wednesday fall finale. Starting at 8, don't miss action-packed new episodes of Chicago Med, Chicago Fire at 9, and Chicago PD at 10. Then WRAL News at 11. You're watching coverage you can count on with WRAL News.
A Christmas parade is supposed to be a time to celebrate the joy and goodwill of the season. The hunt for a suspected criminal suddenly disrupted this year's parade in the town of Cleveland.
Some spectators say that troopers endangered the public when the chase drove right through the parade. Brian Mims spoke with one concerned mom. He also gets a response from the Highway Patrol.
Cleveland Road is a bona fide state-maintained highway, busy at most hours. But for an hour or so Tuesday night, traffic consisted of marching bands and floats as tiny tots watched with their eyes aglow.
You want to play? You want to play?
Michelle Gillis was there with her own tot.
We were standing to the left of the blue sign.
When she saw the blue lights and heard what she describes as intermittent sirens.
We never had any warning that they were coming. The kids were out in the street trying to get the candy, and people were having to get their kids out of the road.
She says 3 cruisers came from the direction of Smithfield, quickly slowing down as they drove against the flow of the parade. First Sergeant Michael Baker of the Highway Patrol says 2 of the cars were driven by troopers. The third was from an unnamed law enforcement agency. They were chasing a man wanted for a hit and run and who was described as armed and dangerous.
The parade route itself is short, maybe a half mile, and is shaped roughly like a triangle. The local fire department blocks each of the 3 points to keep traffic from entering.
In this Facebook post, another parade goer says the cops passed on the other end of the fire truck, having to drive into the ditch to get around. Cleveland is an unincorporated community, so it has no police force to do traffic control. And this is only its 2nd Christmas parade. Sergeant Baker sent me this statement. Supervisory personnel are actively investigating this incident and will take such action as deemed necessary, saying public safety is always paramount.
We're going to go in a minute. What's he doing?
Michelle Gillis says the officers had alternate routes around the parade.
It was a perfect storm for some children to get killed, and it's just a miracle that they didn't.
But in the end, a suspected bad guy was caught, and a community's good cheer marched on. Brian Mims, WRAL News, Johnston County.
Johnston County Sheriff Steve Bizzle says he often provides deputies to assist with traffic control at parades across the county. He would have done so last night, but did not know about the event.
Well, it's certainly starting to feel like Christmas out there. We were walking into work today, Brad, without even his jacket, me bundled up with gloves and a coat. And,
wow.
yeah,
20s might bring out the jacket.
Really? It's going to be that cold.
It was still pleasant. It's the wind
chilly.
that causes the chill.
Goes right through you.
Yeah. But you're pretty tolerant to the cold overall.
Been through a lot of cold.
Yeah.
So you get used to it after a while.
Right, right. Your blood will thin after a while, though, down here. I found that out in New York a couple of weeks ago. Things have changed somehow. All right, let's go on ahead and check out this situation here. We'll start off by taking a look at the Raleigh sky cam. And there's still a few clouds lingering, but they're fairly harmless and should go bye-bye tonight, leaving us with a mostly clear sky and colder temperatures. Now, the big question about snow this weekend, here's what we're pretty confident of. In fact, very confident of. The precipitation will arrive late Saturday or perhaps even more likely Saturday night and continue in earnest all the way through Sunday. Travel impacts are possible, but here's the tricky thing about this. Obviously, we're going to be above freezing the vast majority of the time between now and the time this event gets here, and so the road surface temperatures are going to be fairly warm. Now, that can be overcome if the precipitation falls heavily enough. What happens is when the snow falls and melts on contact with a warm surface, that actually extracts heat by that melting process or through that melting process. And so if it comes down really, really hard, all of a sudden that surface cools and it can start to accumulate. And then as soon as it lets up, a lot of times you'll see whatever has accumulated on the road surface melt. So that's going to be a really, really dicey issue as we head into Saturday night and Sunday morning. And so we'll keep an eye on that for you. But the good news is we still have days to watch with this system. We're still taking a look at the onset of this at least 72 hours from now. Now, the probability of getting an inch or more of snow to fall, not necessarily accumulate to an inch, but at least an inch of snow to fall is nearly 100% all through this area here from Greensboro over to Durham and perhaps even Raleigh itself. And then even though it drops off to the south and east, these are still respectable probabilities all the way down into our far southeastern counties, at least at the beginning of the event. It could very well and more than likely will change over to rain in many of these areas later Saturday night and Sunday. But before that happens, there still could be a little winter even there. Right now, temperatures are in the high 30s to mid 40s across the area. The satellite and radar mosaic, those are these little flurries that we saw earlier today in some of our northern counties. And then this is the system that we'll be watching. And as this moves eastward and taps into moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, it will be a much more expansive precipitation area. So this is the way the jet stream looks right now with the main axis of it to our south, which is why our temperatures are running below normal. Now, as we head into the weekend, we're going to be in a different type of jet stream configuration. And as we stop it on Saturday night, notice this area up in here. This is what we call a jet streak, which means the winds within the jet stream are blowing stronger there than they are anywhere else. And when you are in this position to the south and to the west of that jet streak, this entire area is where you would have a favorable area for upward motion. And if you have enough moisture, a lot of precipitation, of course, either rain, snow, or whatever, but all upward motion in this area here. And with abundant moisture, we definitely expect a significant precipitation event. The biggest issue is the type that's going to occur at any one given location. And with the trough lingering in the eastern part of the country, there could still be some leftover precipitation and cooler than normal temperatures even into the early part of next week. That southern branch of the jet looks like it's going to be relentless for a while. All right, so for tonight, decreasing cloudiness or clearing if you prefer, and colder. The low 28. Then tomorrow, lots of sunshine, but chilly, 46. As we look ahead toward Friday, partly cloudy, a little milder, and 50. And then you see the flake and the drop on Saturday. That is not during the day. Not during the day. That is a nighttime phenomenon. What's that?
Oh, I just wondered if it was during the day.
Just trying to be difficult, aren't you? And then Saturday night and Sunday is when the bulk of this event will occur.
All right, we'll wait and see.
Thanks,
absolutely.
Greg.
Thanks, Greg. All right, let's take a chance to go to the live center. Cullen Browder with a little bit more. Cullen?
Well, Brad, I can tell you social media is reacting to the possibility of snow and Greg's forecast. This is from the WRAL Facebook page. You've got Brooks saying, all right, Wake County, stop hogging all the winter weather, because Fayetteville wants some of that too. I'm not sure the brook speaks for everyone in Fayetteville. Justin's talking about really not bad weather to have during a weekend in December. You know, you might be tired, you sit inside, it's cozy, you have your holiday decorations. So a lot of people reacting to that. And then North Carolina Emergency Management already trying to get people prepared. Sleet and freezing rain can create different hazards, so know the difference, have a plan. And as we walk over here, this will get you in the mood. This is the Appalachian Ski Mountain Slope Cam. So obviously people there taking advantage of the snow in western North Carolina. So a lot of people on social media reacting to this.
Yeah, that's the ski slope looks great, but Greg did say very little chance of the freezing rain.
Right. It's either going to be a rain or a snow event. You know,
okay.
And that's, at least that simplifies things a little bit.
Absolutely.
We're still going to be talking about it until it comes.
Oh, yeah.
And then after.
Yeah.
And then after.
Post-mortem.
Greg, thanks very much. Cullen, thank you as well.
Still ahead, more information on USA Gymnastics, how lawyers say filing for bankruptcy now could potentially save the sport for the next Olympics. And at 5:30, a popular cartoon character has a change of address, the unlikely exchange that brought Dennis the Menace to North Carolina. It's now been 1 month since someone kidnapped 13-year-old Hanya Aguilar, and tonight investigators are still looking for her killer. Aguilar was forced into her family's SUV and kidnapped outside her home in Lumberton November 5th. Authorities found the stolen car days later, and last week they found her body. The FBI is continuing to ask the public for help to find her killer. They're offering a $25,000 reward for information. In addition, the state is offering $5,000 in reward money. One person is recovering after a shooting at an apartment complex in Raleigh. Police say the victim was driving by Walnut Ridge Apartments near Hughberry Lane when he was shot. He then drove himself to a hospital. His name has not been released.
USA Gymnastics today filed for bankruptcy. That organization now working to resolve 100 lawsuits filed over Larry Nassar's sexual abuse. The chairwoman says that the board is also trying to reorganize and stay afloat. This filing stays all those pending actions against the board, including those suits. So the board also hopes that it will hold off a Section 8 filing by the U.S. Olympic Committee, which would strip USA Gymnastics of its designation, I should say, of the national governing body. Coming up on WRAL at 5:30, an Army veteran shot and killed. The family member who did it claims self-defense.
I'm Mandy Mitchell in Harnett County, where opening statements were made in a civil trial that involves a pastor shooting and killing his son-in-law. I'll take you inside the courtroom as the first evidence is revealed.